The quiet beeping of the Deep Space Monitoring Station broke the silence of the night shift. Mike, the station operator, rubbed his tired eyes and leaned forward to check the readings. What he saw made him sit up straight in his chair. "Control, this is Station Delta 7, he called out, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "We're picking up an unusual energy signature at the edge of the solar system. It's like nothing we've seen before." Within hours, the International Space Navy's fastest ship, the ISN Pathfinder, was preparing for launch. Captain James stood on the bridge, watching his crew work with practiced efficiency. At 55 years old, he had seen many strange things in space, but this reading was different. The energy signature pulsed in patterns too regular to be natural. "Engine room reports ready, Captain," his first officer, Lisa, reported. She had served with him for 8 years, and he trusted her judgment completely. "Take us out," James ordered. "Set course for the anomaly." The Pathfinder's engines hummed to life, pushing the sleek vessel out of Earth's orbit. The ship was humanity's pride, a perfect blend of power and speed, equipped with the latest technology Earth had to offer. But even with their advanced engines, it took them 3 days to reach the edge of the solar system. As they approached the coordinates, the crew fell silent. Through the main viewport, they could see a strange distortion in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But what made their jaws drop was what lay beyond it. Ships, dozens of them. Massive vessels that made the Pathfinder look like a rowboat next to ocean liners. Their designs were clearly alien. Smooth, curved shapes that seemed to flow like liquid metal. But something was wrong. The ships weren't moving. They hung in space, trapped in the strange distortion like insects in amber. "Life signs?" James asked, breaking the stunned silence. "Massive readings, sir," the sensor operator replied. "Those ships are full of living beings, but their power signatures are weak and getting weaker." James made his decision quickly. "Open a channel. All frequencies, basic grading package." The communication officer sent out humanity's first contact message, a simple sequence of mathematical constants and peaceful intentions, broadcast in various formats. For 10 tense minutes, nothing happened. Then their screens lit up with a response. Strange symbols flowed across their displays, accompanied by musical tones that seemed to form patterns. The alien ships were trying to communicate. "Sir," the sensor operator called out suddenly, "the distortion field, it's some kind of spatial anomaly, and it's draining their power. At their current rate of power loss, those ships will be dead in the water in less than 3 weeks." James felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and they were facing an emergency rescue situation. He opened a channel to Earth Command. "Command, this is Pathfinder. We have confirmed first contact with an alien fleet. Multiple vessels, civilian configuration, trapped in a spatial anomaly. They are in distress and losing power. Request immediate assistance and full first contact protocols." The response from Earth was immediate. Every available ship was to be diverted to their location. The entire human race held its breath as news spread. They weren't alone in the universe, and their first alien contact was with a group that desperately needed their help. As more human ships arrived, they began to make progress in communicating with the aliens. Through basic mathematical exchanges, they learned that these beings called themselves the Meridians. They were refugees, fleeing from their dying star system when they became trapped in the spatial anomaly. James looked out at the massive alien ships, their once bright lights now dimming as their power drained away. He thought about the thousands, maybe millions of lives aboard those vessels. Despite their advanced technology, these aliens were helpless, trapped by a quirk of space that their sophisticated systems couldn't handle. "Well," he said to Lisa, "it looks like humanity has a chance to show the galaxy what we can do." Little did he know that this rescue mission would become one of humanity's finest hours, proving that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't always the best one. Dr. Kate walked the halls of the Pathfinder, her mind racing with possibilities. As Earth's top expert in communication theory, she had spent years preparing for first contact. But now that the moment had arrived, none of her prepared methods were working. The Meridians' language was unlike anything they had expected. Their translation computers, designed to find patterns in alien communications, were failing to make sense of the strange mix of sounds and symbols the aliens used. "Play it again," she told her assistant, Rob, as they sat in the ship's communication lab. The alien message filled the room, a complex blend of musical tones and mathematical sequences. Rob shook his head. "We've been at this for 3 days, Doctor. Maybe we should try a different approach." Kate was about to respond when something caught her attention. She closed her eyes, listening not to the words or music, but to the rhythm itself. There was something familiar about it. "Rob, pull up Earth's record of planetary movements, the orbital periods of our solar system." He looked confused but did as she asked. As the data appeared on screen, Kate's excitement grew. There, the rhythm in their message. It matches the mathematical ratio of planetary orbits. They're using universal constants as a base for communication. The discovery was just the beginning. Over the next 12 hours, Kate and her team worked nonstop, using this new understanding to build a basic translation framework. They learned that the Meridians didn't just speak their language. They lived it. Their whole culture was based on patterns and harmonies. Captain James watched from the bridge as Kate's team made breakthrough after breakthrough. The Meridians weren't just refugees. They were the survivors of a dying star system, forced to flee when their sun began to collapse. They had launched their entire civilization into space, hoping to find a new home. But their journey had gone wrong. Their fleet's main drive core, the power source that kept all their ships running, was critically damaged when they hit the spatial anomaly. Now they were trapped, their power slowly draining away. "How long do they have?" James asked his engineering chief. "Based on their current power consumption, less than 2 weeks before life support starts failing. They've already shut down everything non-essential." Through the viewport, James could see the alien ships. Their once bright hulls were now dark, running on minimal power to keep their people alive. On his screen, he watched as Kate's team continued to improve their communications with the Meridians. The aliens were surprised by humanity's quick progress in learning to communicate with them. They had expected a less advanced civilization to take months to understand their complex language, but humans had done it in days. Kate's breakthrough came when she realized something important. The Meridians thought in patterns, but humans thought in stories. She began translating their mathematical sequences into narratives, making their ideas accessible to human minds. "They're not just giving us data," she explained to the bridge crew. "They're telling us their story. Their civilization is millions of years old. They've mastered technologies we can barely understand. But right now, all that knowledge can't help them escape this trap." The Meridians shared their attempts to escape the anomaly. Their advanced engines, capable of bending space itself, were useless against the strange physics of the phenomenon. Every solution they had tried had failed. As Kate finished translating their latest message, a heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Meridians weren't just asking for help. They were saying goodbye. They believed their situation was hopeless. Captain James stood up, his face determined. "Tell them not to give up hope. Humanity has a long history of solving impossible problems. Sometimes, the oldest solutions are the best ones." He turned to his crew. "Contact Earth. I want every engineer, physicist, and problem solver we have working on this. The Meridians may have given up, but we're just getting started." Little did the aliens know that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their refusal to accept defeat. Chief Engineer Tom stood in the Pathfinder's observation room, staring at the holographic display of the spatial anomaly. Around him, dozens of the best engineers from Earth worked at their stations, running simulation after simulation. So far, every solution had failed. "The problem," he explained to Captain James, "is that we're thinking too much like modern engineers. The Meridians already tried all the high-tech solutions. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. If they couldn't make it work, we won't either. Tom was different from most engineers. While others focused on the newest technology, he loved studying old machines and ancient techniques. His office back on Earth was filled with books about historical engineering. As he watched the swirling patterns of the anomaly on the screen, something clicked in his mind. He had seen something like this before. "Display the energy flow patterns," he ordered. "The hologram change, showing how energy moved through the anomaly. Now slow it down." The other engineers gathered around as Tom pointed to the screen. "Look at that pattern. It's just like ocean currents on Earth. This isn't just a spatial anomaly. It's a current in space." He rushed to his computer and pulled up old sailing charts from Earth's oceans. For thousands of years, sailors on Earth dealt with powerful currents that could trap their ships. They didn't have engines or fancy technology, but they survived. Captain James leaned forward, interested. "What are you suggesting?" "The Meridian ships are stuck because they're fighting against the current. Their engines just make things worse, like a boat using its motor against a riptide. But ancient sailors knew better. They worked with the currents, not against them." The room was quiet as Tom pulled up more historical data. "Look at these old rescue techniques. When ships got stuck on sandbars, they didn't use power to escape. They used ropes and pulleys to slowly work their way free." One of the younger engineers laughed. "Are you saying we should throw ropes into space?" "Not ropes," Tom said, his eyes bright with excitement. "But we have something similar, electromagnetic tethers. They're old technology, practically forgotten since we developed modern engines, but they might be exactly what we need." He quickly drew up his plan. The human ships would create a web of electromagnetic tethers around the Meridian fleet. Instead of trying to pull them out all at once, they would work with the spatial current, gradually guiding the alien ships to safety. "It's so simple it might actually work," Captain James said, studying the plan. "But we'll need hundreds of tethers, and we'll have to position them perfectly. The Meridians will think we're crazy." Another engineer added, "Using such basic technology to save their advanced ships." Tom smiled. "Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. We've spent so much time trying to overcome nature that we've forgotten how to work with it." The next few hours were a blur of activity. As Tom explained his plan to the Meridian engineers, he could sense their disbelief. Through the improved translation system, they expressed doubts about using such primitive technology. But their own power reserves were getting dangerously low. They had no choice but to trust the humans. Captain James called all ships in the area. "This is going to be one of the most complex rescue operations in human history," he told them. "We're going to save these people using technology that's older than most of our civilizations. But that's what humans do best. We take the simple things and make them work." As the human fleet began to move into position, Tom watched the Meridian ships through the viewport. Their massive hulls still gleamed faintly in the starlight, their power systems barely functioning now. "I hope this works," he muttered to himself. "Because if it doesn't, we're about to witness the end of an entire civilization." The rescue operation was about to begin, and the fate of millions of alien lives rested on humanity's ability to turn ancient wisdom into modern salvation. The space around the trapped Meridian fleet buzzed with activity. Hundreds of small human ships moved carefully into position, each carrying part of Tom's electromagnetic tether system. From the Pathfinder's bridge, the scene looked like a complex dance. "Tether Team Alpha, move into position," Captain James ordered. He watched as the first group of ships began deploying their equipment. The electromagnetic tethers glowed softly in space, creating thin lines of blue light between the vessels. Tom stood at his engineering station, directing the technical aspects of the operation. "Remember," he told the fleet, "these tethers are based on old Earth fishing nets. We're not trying to pull the ships out all at once. We're creating a web that will work with the spatial current." Through the translation system, the Meridians watched with a mixture of doubt and hope. Their own rescue attempts had used advanced technology, gravity manipulators, space-time drives, and quantum field generators. Now they were watching humans try to save them with what they considered primitive tools. Team Beta, begin your approach, James called out. The second group of ships moved forward, their tethers extending to connect with the first group. Slowly, a web of electromagnetic energy began to form around the trapped alien fleet. One of the Meridian engineers sent a message through the translator. Your tethers are too weak. They will break under the strain. Tom smiled as he replied. That's the point. We're not making them strong. We're making them flexible. Like a spider's web in the wind, they'll bend but not break. The rescue fleet continued their work. Hour after hour, they added more tethers to the web. Each one had to be perfectly placed, its electromagnetic field carefully calibrated. One mistake could send ripples through the entire network. Lisa, the Pathfinder's first officer, monitored the power readings. The Meridian ships are down to 15% power. Life support systems are starting to fail on their outer vessels. James nodded grimly. Tom, we're running out of time. Web is at 80% completion, Tom reported. We can start the first test pull. The human ships took their positions. Each vessel would use its engines to create a gentle pull on the tethers. The force would be small, but when combined across hundreds of ships, it might be enough. All ships, power up to 5% thrust, James ordered. Nice and easy. The engines of the human fleet glowed to life. The electromagnetic web brightened as energy flowed through it. Everyone held their breath, watching the trapped Meridian ships. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, one of the smaller alien vessels moved. Just a few meters, but it was movement. It's working, Tom exclaimed. The web is distributing the force evenly. The spatial current isn't fighting us because we're not pushing hard enough to trigger its resistance. More Meridian ships began to shift position. Like ice breaking up on a frozen river, the fleet was starting to move. The aliens sent messages of amazement as they watched their ships respond to the gentle pull of the human web. This is incredible, Dr. Kate translated from her communication station. They say they've never seen anything like it. Their technology is based on forcing nature to obey. They never thought of working with it instead. James watched as the rescue operation continued. The human ships adjusted their positions constantly, maintaining the delicate balance of forces. It wasn't fast or dramatic, but it was working. A young engineer on one of the smaller ships sent a message that made everyone smile. Who would have thought that the key to saving an advanced alien civilization would be technology based on ancient fishing nets? Tom looked at the growing number of freed Meridian ships with pride. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Humanity hasn't forgotten its roots, and today, that's going to save millions of lives. But as the operation continued, no one noticed the growing strain on several key points in the electromagnetic web. The real test of humanity's ingenuity was still to come. The warning alarms blared through the Pathfinder's bridge. Red lights flashed as multiple sensors detected growing problems with the electromagnetic web. Status report, Captain James called out, his voice cutting through the noise. Tom's fingers flew over his engineering console. The spatial current is getting stronger. 3 tether points are showing signs of extreme stress. If they break, the whole web could collapse. The rescue operation had been going well for the first 6 hours. They had managed to free 30% of the Meridian fleet, carefully guiding the alien ships out of the anomaly's grip. But now nature was fighting back. Meridian ships report power levels at critical, Lisa announced from her station. Their main life support systems are failing. We have less than 2 hours before they lose atmospheric containment. Through the viewport, they could see the massive alien vessels still trapped in the spatial current. The freed ships glowed with borrowed power from human vessels, but the others were almost completely dark now. We need more power to the web, Tom said, his face grim. The current is pushing back harder than we expected. It's like a river in flood. The more ships we move, the stronger it gets. James looked at the tactical display. They had already committed every available ship to the rescue operation. There was no backup, no reserve force to call upon. Then a message came in from one of the small human ships at the edge of the web. The pilot, Bill, had an idea. What if we rerouted power from our life support systems? We've got emergency suits. We can give everything our ships have to the tethers. There was silence on the bridge as everyone considered this. It would mean putting the human crews at serious risk. If anything went wrong, they would have only the air in their suits to survive on. That's too dangerous, James started to say, but he was interrupted by more messages. Other ship captains were agreeing with Bill's plan. They were all volunteering. "Captain," Tom said quietly, "it might be our only chance. The Meridians have families on those ships, children. They trusted us to help them." James closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with determination. "All crews, this is Captain James. Emergency protocol is now in effect. All personnel switch to survival suits immediately. Prepare to redirect life support power to the tether systems." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Throughout the human fleet, crew members rushed to put on their emergency suits. They were betting their lives on the hope that they could complete the rescue before their air ran out. "Power transfer beginning," Tom reported. "Tether strength increasing. The web is stabilizing." The electromagnetic web glowed brighter as it received power from hundreds of life support systems. The human ships, now running on minimal power, continued their careful dance around the Meridian fleet. Through the translation system, the Meridians expressed their shock. They couldn't believe that human crews would risk their own lives to save strangers. In their long history, they had never encountered such selfless behavior from another species. "Web strength at maximum," Tom called out. "We need to move now, before the current gets any stronger." James gave the order. "All ships, full power to tether systems. Let's finish this." The rescue operation entered its final phase. Every human crew member worked in their suit, knowing they had limited air, but determined to succeed. The electromagnetic web pulsed with energy as they carefully pulled more Meridian ships free. As the operation continued, Dr. Kate received a message from the Meridian fleet. She looked up from her station with tears in her eyes. They say that no matter what happens today, they will never forget what humanity was willing to sacrifice for them." The race against time had become more than just a rescue mission. It had become a testament to humanity's courage and determination to help others, no matter the cost. And the galaxy was watching. The sound of warning alarms filled every human ship as the electromagnetic web reached its breaking point. Suited crew members worked frantically at their stations, watching their air supplies slowly tick down. "Major breach forming in Section 7. Tom shouted from his engineering station. On the main screen, a part of the glowing web was starting to tear apart. If it broke, the backlash could damage both human and Meridian ships. Captain James watched as 3 small human ships moved toward the failing section. "What are they doing?" "Tell them to maintain position." "It's Bill's team," Lisa reported. "They say they can fix it, but they'll have to work outside their ships." Everyone on the bridge fell silent. Working outside in the middle of the rescue operation was almost suicide. The spatial current was now so strong it could tear a person apart. But before James could order them back, Bill's voice came through the comm system. "Captain, we've got 40 minutes of air left anyway. Let us try. We can't just watch those families die." James closed his eyes for a moment. "Permission granted, but at the first sign of trouble, you pull back. That's an order." They watched as Bill and his team left their ships, using small thruster packs to move through space. The Meridians, watching through their own sensors, sent messages of amazement. They had never seen beings risk themselves like this for others. "Approaching the breach point now," Bill reported. His voice was calm despite the dangerous situation. "The electromagnetic field is stronger than we thought. We'll have to work fast." Tom directed them from his station. "You'll need to reconnect the power flow manually. But be careful. One wrong move, and the energy surge could fry your suits. The rescue team worked quickly, their hands steady despite the crushing pressure of the spatial current. Around them, the web of energy flickered and pulsed. More human ships moved to support the damaged section, their crews diverting every bit of power they could spare. Dr. Kate's voice cut through the tension. Message from the Meridian ships: their last backup systems are failing. We have less than 20 minutes before total system collapse. How many ships are still trapped? James asked. 3 large vessels, Lisa answered. The ones deepest in the anomaly. They have the most people on board. Bill's team was making progress, but too slowly. The spatial current was getting stronger, making their work nearly impossible. Then one of the team members, Alice, had an idea. Our suit's power cells, she said through the comm. We can hook them directly into the web. It might give us the extra boost we need. That's crazy, Tom protested. You be down to emergency power only. If anything goes wrong. We're not letting these people die, Bill interrupted. Do it. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the rescue team connected their suit power cells to the damaged section of the web. The electromagnetic field surged, stabilizing the breach. But now, the team had only minutes of suit power left. All ships, full power, James ordered. Get those last vessels out now. The entire human fleet pushed their systems to the limit. The web glowed brighter than ever as they made one final effort to save the remaining Meridian ships. Bill's team, their suits now running on emergency power, worked frantically to keep the repaired section stable. Through the viewports, they could see the last Meridian vessels beginning to move. The massive ships, still dark and powerless, slowly responded to the gentle pull of the human web, but they were fighting against time itself. As the final minutes ticked away, every person in both fleets held their breath. The rescue operation had come down to this moment, a test not just of human technology, but of human courage and determination. And in the darkness of space, that courage was about to be pushed to its absolute limit. The final moments of the rescue operation seemed to stretch forever. Bill's team floated in space, their suit power almost gone, watching as the last 3 Meridian ships fought against the spatial current. 5 minutes of emergency power left, Tom announced, his voice tense. Throughout the human fleet, crew members in their survival suits checked their own dwindling air supplies. Captain James stood at his station, watching the massive alien vessels inch toward freedom. How much longer until they're clear? 4 minutes at current speed, Lisa replied. It's going to be close. The electromagnetic web glowed brightly around the remaining ships, powered by the combined energy of hundreds of human vessels. Every crew member had given everything they had. Their ship's power, their life support, even their suit batteries, to save the Meridians. Suddenly, one of the support tethers snapped. The backlash of energy rippled through the web, threatening to tear it apart. Bill's team, still working on the repairs, held on desperately to their safety lines. Web stability failing. Tom shouted, "We're losing it." But then something unexpected happened. The Meridian ships that had already been rescued moved into position around the web. They had managed to restore enough power to their systems to help. They're reinforcing the web with their own energy fields, Tom said in amazement. They've adapted their technology to work with ours. The combined strength of human and Meridian technology stabilized the web. The last 3 ships moved faster now, pulled along by the united efforts of both species. 30 seconds of emergency power, Alice reported from her position in space. Her voice was weak but determined. Come on, just a little more. Everyone watched as the final Meridian vessel crossed the boundary of the spatial anomaly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cheers erupted across every human ship as they realized they had done it. They had saved the entire Meridian fleet. Get our people back inside now, James ordered. Rescue ships rushed to collect Bill's team, whose suits were seconds from failing. As they were brought to safety, the Meridians sent a message that made Dr. Kate gasp. They're saying, They're saying this is the first time in their million-year history that another species has risked their own lives to save them. She translated. They want to know why we did it. James smiled as he replied. Tell them it's what humans do. We help people in trouble, no matter who they are. The next few hours were busy as human ships shared power with the Meridian vessels, helping them restart their systems. The aliens were quick learners, already studying how the simple electromagnetic tethers had succeeded where their advanced technology had failed. A day later, the combined fleet gathered for a formal meeting. The Meridian leaders, tall beings of silvery light, stood before the human representatives on the Pathfinder's main deck. Our civilization has traveled the stars for 1,000,000 years. The Meridian leader spoke through the translator. We have seen empires rise and fall. We thought we knew everything worth knowing. But you humans have taught us something precious. The leader turned to look at Bill's team, who stood proudly in their cleaned and repaired suits. You showed us that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about keeping the wisdom of the past while reaching for the future. It's about being willing to risk everything to help others. The Meridians presented humanity with a gift: access to their vast technological knowledge. But more importantly, they offered friendship and alliance. They wanted to learn from humans, to understand how this young species had held on to something they had forgotten: the courage to think simply and act boldly. As the human and Meridian ships prepared to travel together to Earth, Captain James stood at his viewport one last time. The spatial anomaly was still there, a swirling pattern in space, but it no longer seemed threatening. Instead, it had become a symbol of how two very different civilizations had come together and achieved the impossible. The rescue was over, but the story would be told for generations to come. It would remind both humans and Meridians that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the most advanced technology, but in the simple willingness to help others, no matter the cost.